source, bringing love, so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love, so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love, so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love, so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love, so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep into the source, bringing love, so we can release that which we no longer need.
Aloha. Good evening. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona with Spiritual Image Productions on Blog Talk Radio and Free Conference Call and YouTube, establishing and maintaining right relationships with human values. Aloha and welcome to tonight's show, Intimacy, Tantra, and Relationships Expected to be Fulfilled. Tonight we'll be talking, tonight we have co-host Maha Dakini Lorae all the way out of San Francisco. Aloha, Lorae, Maha Dakini Lorae.
Aloha, Andrew. A little under the weather, but
yeah,
I'm here.
You can at least say hi, right? So,
yes.
and we're going to be talking to Lorae Maha Dakini Lorae here in a little bit. But tonight we're going to be talking about SESTA FOSTA Enabling Sex Traffickers Act of 2017. And it's a bill that just got passed literally almost a few days ago, a couple of weeks ago or so. And there's a lot of hoopla concerning this, and we're going to go deep into this. In the meantime, we have a guest, Rachel West. Is that correct? Is that how you say your name? Rachel?
Yes, that's right. Rachel West.
Rachel, you're out of San Francisco. Where are you out of?
Yeah, San Francisco.
Okay.
The group is the U.S. Prostitutes Collective.
I can barely hear you. If you can speak up or something, then that would help. Go ahead.
U.S. Prostitutes Collective. Can you hear me now?
Got it. Yeah. And so, you're again. That was the name of the group, or can you say that again?
U.S. Prostitutes.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. And we're going to talk to her for a couple minutes here in a little bit. First of all, just to let you know, let me see. We're going to get into all this. What I want to do right now is go ahead and introduce our underwriters that help make this show happen from week to week, month to month, year to year. Beginning with the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul true life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what ascension means to you. On this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with yourself, your emotions and feelings, in your mind, body, and spirit. Through a universal soul center process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with your endeavors and never look back if you dare. And if you want, a couple of years ago, I wrote the book version of this to supplement the journey. It's literally a mentoring program, a 12-week mentoring program. And you can go either to my website, spiritualimageproductions.com, and click on the 90-Day Ascension Journey, and you can purchase the book there, or you can purchase it on Amazon, or now, right now I have a special for 99 cents. You can purchase it on Kindle if you want to do it that way. And so again, it's meant to supplement the journey, so make it easier to understand the program as well. So anyhow, we also have Novate at www.spiritualimageproductions.novate.com, and that's ANOVITE, with over 25,000 research papers or scientific papers published on colostrum, a 90-day guarantee, and the winner of the Healthy Living People's Choice Award twice over. Novate focuses on helping people with weight loss, anti-aging, heart disease, diabetes, depression, high blood pressure, asthma, allergies, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammation, gout, lupus disease, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, cancer, counselors, no, I'm just kidding, cancer, ulcers, the polio virus, chronic infections, digestive disorders, Alzheimer's disease, autoimmune disease, thymus gland, mental clarity, maintenance and protection of the immune system, synthesis and repair of the RNA, DNA, and much, much more. And then we also have Maha Dakini Lorae at www.mahadakini.com. Maha Dakini Lorae's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified Tantra counselor and Tantra healer and a certified mind sound teacher. Maha Dakini Lorae is also a graduate of Margot Non's year-long Skydancing Tantra Facilitator Training Program, as well as a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselor, and Therapist Club, and a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. And then finally, we do have the 2018 MUFON Symposium at www.mufonsymposium.com. MUFON is the oldest and largest civilian UFO and investigative organization in the country, with over 4,000 members worldwide in 43 countries and all 50 states. MUFON has over 500 certified field investigators deployed worldwide, including myself. This year's 2018 MUFON Symposium will be held at the Crown Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, from the 27th through the 29th of July, with its theme being UFOs, extraterrestrials, and the future of humanity. There will be various speakers from all over the country, probably from all over the world, presenting at this event. Register now at the symposium website, and we'll see you there. And if you happen to be there and see me, give me a high five and let me know that you're there, and so we can at least connect. So anyhow, we're going to go ahead and this is what I want to do is I want to read this first. In fact, there's a lot of stuff here that I'm going to read because there was so much vast information about this bill, this SESTA FOSTA bill. It's actually two bills combined into one, and there's a lot of a conflict, a lot of our debate about its intentions, about what it's doing, what it's accomplishing, and where it's headed. So I want to read this real quick, and then I want to talk to Rachel here, and then we'll go from there. But this guy by the name Rory Little out of Hastings College of Law, professor and formerly federal prosecutor, puts it really well. He states that protecting children as well as the right to free expression could prove a tough balancing act. Well, no matter how hard authorities crack down on prostitution, he added, the business is remarkably adaptable, as is evident from its shift to the internet. And so, Rachel, if you can just kind of give us an overview of who you are and what your company does, and I'll give you a couple minutes for that, and then I want to go ahead and go into the rest of it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, we're an organization of sex workers and ex-sex workers, and we're absolutely against bills like this, and we're campaigning for decriminalization of sex work and for resources, and we're against any kind of violence against sex workers, and the criminalization of prostitution really encourages that and allows it to happen. And this bill is a disaster. It's really problematic in that, as you said, it uses it's supposedly being promoted as a tool to combat child sex trafficking and sex trafficking. I feel that is very misleading, because what it does is that it mixes up prostitution and trafficking, and it's really about going after sex workers and sex workers' ability to advertise online on online platforms. And as while it's saying it's going after online sex trafficking, it actually, the wording is any online platform that promotes or facilitates prostitution. So really, what it's about is a moral crusade against prostitution, against sex work, and an attack on sex workers. And the results are going to be, increasing criminalization, because more women and sex workers are going to go out on the street, because, a lot of the platforms have shut down, and there's, it's much harder to advertise now, and it's going to be more dangerous. So all the talk about, safety and trying to make it safer for
a few kids. For kids. I mean, a fraction of the amount of kids in the United States we're talking about that it's helping to protect.
Well, they absolutely exaggerate. The people promoting this whole agenda absolutely lie and misinform and exaggerate the numbers. They're still using the 300,000 children that are brought into the U.S. every year that are trafficked. I mean, that's completely bogus. It was completely discredited, and you still see that being used by anti-trafficking organizations. So the numbers, is a complete game, and there's another agenda behind this whole anti-trafficking push, which is producing all kinds of very dangerous bills targeting sex workers. We're also fighting another bill in the California Senate right now, SB 1204, that's equally bad and really dangerous, and it's just part of this whole moral crusade against prostitution. And same thing is happening with massage parlors. There's a whole crackdown going on, and it's a very convenient tool to say they're going after anti-trafficking. They're just trying to go after sex workers and criminalize sex workers even more.
I'm going to tell you why here in a couple of minutes, Rachel. I'm going to read off some stats for you that I think are astounding, and this is all about protecting literally 75,000 young women in the United States. That's what it boils down to. That this bill is all about, versus freedom of speech and infringing upon freedom of speech. And I don't know where you draw the line for that, but there is a line that's there. I'm sure of it, and that's where that this needs to really be clear about what its direction is. So there's over 326 million people that live in the United States. 326 million. That's not a lot compared to the 8 billion that live on the planet. And 75 million of those kids, or 23% of those people, are kids between the ages of 0 and 18, right? So likewise, 26 million of those kids are approximately 8% of the total population of the United States. 8% of those kids, or 26 million of them, are between the ages of 12 through 17 years of age. And that's what we're talking about. That's what this bill is aiming to protect. Those, and mostly females. We're not even talking about the males. They don't hardly even mention the males at all in this process. So between the ages of 12 to 17, 75,000 young girls of that age, with 1.6 to anywhere from 1.6 to 2.8 million of them being runaways, both men and women, or throwaways. Some of them get kicked out and they're not allowed to return home. So and who knows all the reasons why that's happening? But obviously there's miscommunication going on, and it's not healthy. So there's a lot of parents out there that need to be taught how to be parents, so that they can reach their kids and they can support them in a good, healthy way. Period. Now that's anyhow.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't think it's the parents' fault. I think it's a lot to do with.
Okay, Rachel, I got a lot of information for this.
Well,
so let me continue on. And these whether you agree or not, these are stats that I've actually gotten from various organizations. Okay, and so
I don't agree with you blaming parents for the crisis that we're living in.
Okay.
There's a lot more facts that need to be considered.
Well, and you're right. You're absolutely correct. So anyhow, additionally, an estimated 150,000 of the runaways or throwaways kids get caught up in sex trafficking. So out of all these 26 million kids that are between the ages of 12 to 17, about 150,000, it's estimated, and that's probably, I don't know how accurate that is, but it's an estimation. I found another website where it was depicting 115 kids were caught up in sex trafficking. So I don't know what the actual numbers are, but again, 75. Mostly this bill aims at the 75,000 half of those 150,000 kids that are caught up in sex trafficking and either those kids are caught up in sex trafficking on their own or they're forced into it. Now again, these kids aren't just going out there and they get forced into sex. Some of these kids, they run away because of whatever reasons, and they get caught up, because they have to make money so they can survive. And now the other picture about this is 90% of these kids, 150,000 kids that run away actually end up getting returned to their homes. 90%. With 7,500 of them of these people of the females, I guess there are 1,500 of them being not actually making it home, either because of their own delivery, they don't want to go home and they don't go home, or they do get caught up in some trap, and that's not good for anybody. So anyhow, in essence, the SESTA FOSTA bill aims to protect mostly 0.02% females between the ages of 18 through ages of 12 through 7 years of age, or 0.05% of the total population of teens between the ages of 12 to 17 years of age with this bill. Okay. Now, likewise, probably most of these teens are runaway kids due to potentially bad parenting and simply because the teens are out of control themselves. Is that cost effective or reasonable? Could the group have resolved, this group that processed and passed this bill, could they have resolved this issue on sex trafficking by implementing tax evasion principles on Backpage? Now, or did they want revenge and money instead? Could there have been another way to resolve this problem? I think there could have been. With the amount of money spent and the amount of money that's being made from the lawsuit from this, I think they could have had a better choice. Now the 12 reasons.
Well, can I just
go ahead?
Go ahead. What I'm that when you were talking about the statistics, it's kind of like, using a hand grenade to kill a mosquito. It was like way overdone. And, I guess what Rachel was trying to say is that there's so many things about why, there's an economic factor in why someone might enter the sex business. And and especially if you're a runaway, there's very little options for you to survive. And you're more vulnerable to being exploited by someone who knows how to coerce you or to get you, to do what they do, because they're going to offer you a housing, they're going to offer you food, they're going to offer you clothes, but then there's a bigger price to pay.
And this is not just about force.
That have been done on youth, because what's this sex trafficking? What are we talking about? We talk about young people that have no income. 6 million children in the U.S., 6 million teenagers are hungry. There's been, a study that was done, 6 million. Some of them swap sex for food.
And again, we're talking about not just forced sex. We're talking about some of these kids are out there on their own volition, and they don't think about what the ramifications are going to be concerning running away. And sometimes they don't have a choice because their parents are drug addicts, they're alcoholics, or whatever, and sometimes they don't have that choice. But sometimes some of these kids are just obnoxious, and they need to learn their lesson. Maybe that's the lesson. I don't know, but there's a lot more. There's a lot into this. So I want to go into the 12 reasons that this SESTA FOSTA bill became enacted.
Here, Rachel, because we're going to have her on for a short time.
I hear you, but I got a lot of information. Go ahead.
Part of the problem is, you're presenting it like they really care. This bill, the people behind this bill really care about the kids. They don't give a damn about the kids.
Exactly.
Otherwise, they would create problems. There would be shelters. There would be housing. There would be resources for children. The money would go into that. But it doesn't. So they don't give a damn. So this bill has nothing to do with protecting children. It's not about that. It's about going after sex workers, going after prostitution. It's a crusade.
Okay, Rachel, let me go into this, because this will clarify a lot of what you're already talking about, and basically it's reiterating what I'm just getting ready to say anyhow. So now the 12 reasons, which I believe are nominal for passing the SESTA FOSTA bill, and there's a number of reasons, and it wasn't just because, of course, the number one reason, assumably, is to fight sex trafficking. That's what the number one reason supposedly is. Okay, so let me finish, Rachel, because again, I got a lot to discuss. Okay, now another reason is because this is a personal vendetta against Stormy Daniels. And who signed the bill? Trump, of course. So it's President Trump. So and she now, this is why I'm saying this, because Stormy Daniels had signed an agreement to keep her mouth shut about a certain activity. And this is also leading into why prostitution is not made legal, because she came out and she was she had assumably, I don't know all the details, whether they're true or not, but again, I want to be very clear. None of us are considered legal attorneys, therapists, or licensed doctors or anything like that. So all this information is for your entertainment purposes, for your educational purposes. That's it, for the most part. Okay. So now again, Stormy Daniels she breached contract with this agreement. Now, when she signed this agreement, she could have gone to the FBI and reported this, and even though maybe she was forced into signing this agreement, I don't know, but she signed it. This agreement where something took place, and she was supposed to keep her mouth shut, and then she reneged. She breached contract, came out, and said it anyhow. Okay. Now the next reason is the very, very same reason, a personal vendetta against Rose McGowan. She did the exact same thing.
I don't know what this has got to do with.
Okay. I need just let me finish, because this is all a political scam. Again, this has to do with a personal vendetta. And guess what? Stormy Daniels is a sex worker, isn't she? Thank you very much.
No, she's not. She's a porn star, but isn't that whatever.
Isn't that the same thing as a sex worker?
Well, maybe in a general way, a sex worker is she works in the sex business.
There you go. Either way.
Would like to get to yes. And after the break, maybe we can get back on this. But I think I want to hear what Rachel has to say, because we have time.
I hear you, but we don't have much time right now. I want to get through this. I don't know how much time we have, and I didn't move this to 2 hours. So anyhow, another reason is a personal vendetta against the Me Too movement. Okay, so again, this is building. And this has been building, for a long time. So now a lot of the people out there that are looking at this bill are also saying that it's a way to get through the Freedom of Speech Act, to override the Freedom of Speech Act. And then the other people are saying that it's another way of overriding the internet. They've been wanting to control the internet for years, and this is a way of them trying to control the internet. And then another reason for this is to control sex workers and prostitution. Are they one and the same? I don't know. What are sex workers and prostitution one and the same?
Yeah.
They are, okay. So I just wanted to be clear about that.
No, there's dances, there's different areas of sex industry.
Okay. So and what were you going to say, Lorae?
I would agree with what Rachel is saying, is that it's a broad term of sex worker, and then there's subgroups. So you would have escorts or prostitutes, and you've got different levels within the escort business or prostitution business. Then you have erotic massage therapists or sensual massage therapists, or massage workers or body to body and all that other stuff. You get the Asian massage parlors. You have strippers. And then you have the porn stars. You have, so that's all related to this industry where sex is commercialized and it's a commodity that is marketable. However, our government is not allowing us to, they're wanting to control women primarily. And now I guess also the male site is down as well. So they're controlling both men and women, consensual adults, exchanging money for personal services.
I really recommend that you guys come to terms with the terms prostitution and sex workers, and then all these massage therapists and body workers and so forth. I think you're looping them all into the same group, and that's already causing problems for them, because now they can't advertise either, and they're not about actually doing sex at all. They're about helping cheating people emotionally and physically wise. And I don't think that they are one of the same group as you are. Of what,
going back to what is sex with Clinton. I did not have sex with that woman. Well, what does that mean? Oral sex, manual sex, penetration sex. So
I mean, and there's a lot of leeway to defining sex. But anyhow, I want to move on. So another reason that this bill this bill got passed, potentially, again, this goes back to parenting skills and kids that run away not being with them being aggressive or whatever. Anyhow, we also have another reason for the bill being passed is because of the money to be made from the lawsuit against Backpage. Now, a lot of people don't understand, and this bill got passed because the biggest reason that this bill got passed, I believe, is because it was a personal vendetta against Backpage, which is a website that offers advertisements for.
They were one of the largest. After Craigslist, which is a couple of years ago, they became the largest advertiser.
They were the largest.
Yes.
Selling in 2015, it's estimated that they made $154 million. In 2014, they 134 million dollars. I don't remember, but anyhow, in 2013, 117 million dollars. And then 2012, they made about $71 million. That's close to $500 million they made over this 14 years that they were in operation. Now, do you think that these people wouldn't want, that they're suing Backpage, wouldn't want a piece of that pie? I think they do. Now, another reason.
Well, my other question is sometimes, I don't know if the government is confiscating all that money. The same way they do, like if there's a drug raid, or if they think if you're stopped driving your car and the police find money in there, and you're going to the next state to buy a new car and you got $1,500 on you, they go, well, we're thinking that you're going to use that $1,500 to buy drugs, so you're impounding your car and that money because you have a red tail light out.
And that's a good point. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And we don't know.
Another possibility, yeah.
I don't know, and if they seize all the but that lawsuit was in activation way before this bill was, and 3 years in the making that lawsuit has been around. So I think that lawsuit. No,
the lawsuit, according to that movie that you're. So if people want to get a little bit more information about this documentary that was created, it's on Netflix, called I Am Jane Doe. From what I recall, if I'm recalling correctly, this whole business started around 6 to 8 years ago.
That's not what I'm saying. I said the lawsuit lawsuit itself was processed about 3 years ago. Okay, and then they came out and made this documentary, which is another reason why this bill probably has been enacted. Now the thing is that not only would the lawyers and all the victims and the parents get part of this money, and I don't know how much that is. I'm sure they're going to get some money. I'm almost 100% sure. I don't know how much, that's all. And not only are they going to get the money, along with all these lawyers, but are the senators that are involved with this going to get part of this piece of the pie? The people making this documentary, if you notice, this documentary was well made. They put a lot of money into it. Who do you think that these people are going to be getting money out of this piece of this pie from this documentary? I think so. So again, this bill, it's only serving basically 75,000 young females between the ages of 12 to 17, and they stand. I think it's a monetary thing. I think it's the monetary reason that they passed this legislation. Now, going on, there are two legislative frameworks in conflict here. The first is the Communications Decency Act, specifically Section 230 of it, which was passed in 1996 to protect internet platforms against legal liability for acts their users commit. The second is something the Senate is set to consider in the next few days. And this was written a few weeks ago. The next is to stop enabling sex traffickers act, which would undermine Section 230 and its central role in giving birth to today's internet. Backpage has been sued by three young women who assert that they were exploited through the site hosting a prostitution ads targeting minors. But the site, as well as the public interest groups Electronic Frontier Foundation and Center for Democracy of Technology, contends that the Federal Communications Decency Act shields it from liability for actions by third-party users who post such ads. The case is on appeal and so forth. Now, again, that page and this group called the Electronic Frontier Foundation and Center for Democracy of Technology are all contending that the Federal Communications Decency Act shields all of them from these liabilities. Now, guess who supports, who actually donates? Like, we're talking about thousands and millions of dollars to these groups. Who do you think donates to these groups, Lorae?
Well, Facebook, Microsoft, all of the major technology players, I would imagine. Google. Google, yeah.
And I didn't see YouTube in it, but I think YouTube is part of that group as well. So all these major social media corporations are who has been backing Backpage, believe it or not. That's what I see. That's what I understand. And so that's why.
Well, they're not backing Backpage. They are backing the freedom of content that the host website or the hosting place is not responsible for their content. That's where the government is prosecuting. And Rachel, am I correct in this? If you're still with us?
Sorry, I missed that.
It's with the law. It's that the content is now whoever hosts the content. So like Backpage, they are now saying Backpage is responsible for the content, and they are then traffickers. If someone who is a trafficker posts an ad of a girl, and Backpage is now responsible, which is also then where Microsoft and Google and Facebook and YouTube would also be held responsible, and that's where we're also seeing all of these change of term agreements, Instagram, and like I said, Microsoft and Yahoo and Twitter and all of these places because they all host content. And if there's content on there that they're held liable for, they can be shut down by the government or prosecuted by the government.
Right, but it's for facilitating or promoting prostitution. So where does all the trafficking come in?
Okay, so this is the part that you guys may want to understand, that mostly what they're going after, what this bill is going after, is that
Andrew, just let her talk. I want to hear, Andrew, let her talk. I want to hear her.
Please don't talk to us like we don't know what we're talking about. You know,
I do, because I've read this bill like 3 or 4 times. I absolutely do know what I'm talking about.
Implications. I know, but you don't realize how you're talking to 2 women here.
I hear you, but let's stick to the facts, okay? I don't want to deal with emotions. I want to deal with facts. Okay,
no, but let's have a conversation, and I'd like to hear what Rachel's saying. And like I said, I invited her to speak, and I, and we just have her for a short time, so I'd like to get her perspective.
Okay, so again, I got lots of information that I've done 3 days worth of research. Okay, thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you.
We can barely hear her to begin with, and then she wants to argue with me. Okay.
It's not argue.
Okay, so I just want to read this stuff, because this is not stuff that I'm making up. This is stuff that research I've been doing for the last 3 days that people are of information that they're putting out. And this is not my words. These are other people's words. Backpage has been sued by 3 children, these 3 females, who assert that they were exploited through the site's hosting of prostitution ads targeting minors. But the site, as well as the public interest groups that we talked about, Electronic Frontier Foundation and Center for Democracy of Technology, contends that the Federal Communication Decency shields it from liability for actions by third-party users who post ads on their sites. The case is in appeal. Introduced this bill, the SESTA bill, was introduced by Republican Ohio Senator Rob Portman in August of last year. I think it was August of 2016, but I may have been not sure. But anyhow, the first version of SESTA was designed primarily to make it easier for plaintiffs and state attorney generals to sue Backpage. Again, this is back because Backpage. They went up and to try to sue Backpage, 3 or 4 or 5 times, I don't know how many times, and each time they were not able to do anything because of this Section 230 bill. So anyhow, this combined bill, and the combined bill they're talking about, the SESTA and FOSTA, has consequences not just for the companies, but also for those these companies serve. As Emma Alonso of the Center for Democracy and Technology puts it, the practical results of this legal risk for intermediaries will be a broad-based censorship. Smaller platforms will also face the real risk that single lawsuit could put them out of business. This bill jeopardizes not only classified ad sites, but also dating apps, discussion forums, social media sites, and any other service that hosts user-generated content. And mostly ads is what they're referring to. Experts, including the ACLU and the Center for Democracy and Technology, say it would do little to help actual victims of trafficking and instead devastate consensual sex worker communities online, which is what your friend was saying, where sex workers share valuable, sometimes life-saving information and resources. Make no mistake of this, that this bill was passed for sex workers to die, will to die. So now that's one of the things that I'm bent about is they say they go, well, yeah, this place is a place where sex workers can communicate with each other and talk to each other about Johns being dangerous or some Johns not paying up. But why didn't they use this format to help these people track down sex workers or sex trafficking in these kids? Why didn't they use that format to help prosecute sex trafficking? Why? I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, you watched. I watched that movie that I referenced earlier that you turned me on to, called "I Am Jane Doe,"
Okay.
and it's. Let me take a breath here. From what I'm understanding, there was an attempt initially by the state of Washington to get Backpage to have to get users' identity of who is advertising, which I didn't think was a bad idea. There's another site called Eros that in order to advertise on that site, you have to give them some kind of like driver's license or passport so that they know, that has your age on it, so they know that you are legal. If you're presenting them with an illegal ID, then they're not responsible, but they're doing their due diligence.
Okay.
Backpage fought that, and they won in court saying that it was against their, the First Amendment and their right to free speech. Well, that's where I feel Backpage went wrong, and they fought it, they won. However, the people who were trafficked, quote unquote, injured by Backpage, kept escalating the stakes, and they kept finding people. So I can see where it's that Backpage's actions affected so many more people in the sex business that they had on their site, which was massage therapists, erotic massage therapists, escorts.
We already talked about all that.
BDSM people.
Go ahead.
So it was something that, and I can't speak for the owners. They're all men.
I hear you. I know.
And I don't understand why they could not have agreed to that. We would have had a very different outcome.
Exactly what I'm saying. I think they could have done more.
You can't turn the clock back 8 years.
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
And now we got what we got.
I think that they could have done more, and they didn't. And I think that even the people putting those ads in there that aren't sex traffickers, that are doing their business, they could have helped him as well. They didn't have to go out of the way, I don't think. But if they noticed something,
had a staff
this
of
girl looks
people
like
that
she's
were
12 years old. They could have helped him out.
Screening the ads, and then there was something that I was seeing where then they were taught about there's code words. That it's
exactly.
code word of young or
different things.
Schoolgirl or something like that. That's code word for underage.
Exactly.
And that then later on they were instructed to ignore that. Again, I'm not quite sure if Backpage is really wanting to do the upstanding thing and work with law enforcement, or whether they were just trying to work around and make as much money as possible. But now they're in jail, they're under indictments.
Now, and you know what's funny is that in one of the articles I read that law enforcement were having sex with prostitutes too, so that they could they would stay out of trouble. So how many law enforcement people are involved in this process? I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and there's a lot of suspicion. There's a lot of activity that's not being accounted for, I'm pretty sure. So anyhow, I want to go ahead and go on with this. It says, and this is talking about the movie, the documentary that both Maha Dakini Lorae and I watched. I Am Jane Doe is a documentary film by Mary Mazzio that explores the trafficking and sexual enslavement of children and teens, specifically enabled by online advertisement. It is a disturbing look at how girls, typically runaways or otherwise temporarily separated from friends or caretakers, can be lost to rings of predators who find a seemingly never-ending supply of customers. But I Am Jane Doe also excels as a legal thriller, blah, blah, blah. Their target is Backpage. Again, this whole vendetta is towards Backpage. And this guy I think it's very clear that he didn't do everything that he could have to cooperate with authorities. And I think that was the problem, and that's where they got pissed off at this guy. A website that was once part of Village of Voice Media, which serves the majority of these problematic ads. On April 6th of this year, Backpage was shut down. Backpage.com CEO Carl Ferrer has entered a guilty plea to state and federal conspiracy and money laundering charges. Now, it's funny because it says federal conspiracy and money laundering charges, but it has nothing to do with sex trafficking. It's beyond me. In connection with his website's operation, and will operate with federal law enforcement agents on their ongoing investigation into sex trafficking and prostitution. Ferrer plead guilty in both Sacramento and also Arizona. Federal agents shut down the website on April 6th, and several executives of the firm have since been indicted. Far too long, let me see. For far too long, Backpage existed as the dominant marketplace for illicit commercial sex, as a place where sex traffickers frequently advertise children and adults alike. U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions said in a written statement, but this illegality stops right now. Ferrer has agreed to cooperate in the criminal case against Backpage co-founders Michael Lacey and James Larkin, who purchased Backpage a few years later, and then eventually they sold it to somewhere in Netherlands, and then they brought it back to the United States, and then they made Carl what's his name, Ferrer, the CEO of it. Again, prosecutors have alleged that the website has generated more than $500 million in the last 14 years in prostitution-related revenue, laundering much of it through foreign accounts and cryptocurrency. Also today, in Arizona, a grand jury handed down a 93-count indictment against its co-founders Michael Lacey and James Larkin and 5 others associated with the site on charges of money laundering and prostitution. Again, where's the sex trafficking charges? It doesn't, and that's what this bill is supposed to serve: to protect sex trafficking, victims. It doesn't make any sense. This is not a website that accidentally let an occasional ad slip through cracks of its reviews. A Justice Department official said they engaged in consistent and concerted action to host ads they knew were related to prostitution. So that, again, this bill is mostly aimed at adult ads in any arena. That's what I'm seeing, not just the internet, but on the newspapers, on anywhere that there's adult advertisements. That's who needs to really think about whether they want to put those ads out there or not. Backpage has long been under fire because of allegations of sex trafficking and prostitution. It is the second largest classified service after Craigslist. Refer to the So now we're going into the bill itself, the report. First of all, when you start to go into the bill, it's actually again, I want to applaud. I want to congratulate these people. They finally took down Backpage, and this guy was being a complete idiot. I think he helped service more sex trafficking than any other company or corporation probably in the world, and he wasn't being cooperative. That was the problem to begin with. He wasn't cooperating to help. The lawyer comes out and says, yeah, they were cooperating. They were coming up with these actions, these programs to help combat sex trafficking. But then again, they said many of those people said that a lot of the photographs of the young women that were underage were on the website, and they noticed them, and they never took those photographs down. Why? I don't know. If that's true, I don't know. But either way,
well,
there was a lot of
that's the question as to, you know, like I said, if they're really policing their site and wanting to work and cooperate with authorities, you know, there would have been more oversight, and you certainly had the funds to hire way more people to be able to do that, or develop the technology that.
Yeah, they had plenty of funds to be able to police their site and take action and make corrections. Plenty of it, but the problem is that a lot of the ads that were out there, they said that they seemed like they were tending to sex trafficking, and they would and the people that were working for Backpage would take that content and change it so it would look more legal, and then they would put them out there anyhow. So that was a stupid part on their part as well. Anyhow, well, I tell you what, and I want to get more into it. We only got about 30 minutes, and what I want to do is just play some music, take a breather, and just this, and then come back. Again, there's a lot of information. If you guys want a copy of all my research that I've done, get a hold of me, and I'll see if I can get you a copy of it. But I was actually going to put it on my website. I might still actually put it on my website. I don't know, but if you want,
and can I ask, Andrea, is there any listeners out there that you see this evening that if people want to, you know, like talk and join us in this conversation?
There isn't, and I was hoping there would be some people, but there's not anybody out here. Okay. So I want to play at least right now, and I didn't open the chat room because of the amount of, I don't know, there's some technical crap going on, but yeah, I want to play Radha Ramana by Daniel Paul from his album Elephant Prayers. I want to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of the light, and love to all those people that took part in establishing this SESTA FOSTA bill, to on all their family and friends, to of course you, Lorae, and to Rachel and all your family and friends, to me and my family and friends, to all our vehicles, places of residence, to all the kids and the animals and the plants on the planet, especially the ones that need concern. Now, I want to be very clear about this as well. I don't have anything against what these people are doing, so as long as it's in the form of right action, right conduct, right relations, right intentions. I don't know that their intentions were completely, wholeheartedly in the right direction towards the end when this bill finally became an act. I don't know. If you gave them a choice, hey, would you, which would you choose? Either these people going to jail, prison for the rest of their life, and you get no money from this, or you get, everybody gets $1 million, and those people don't go to jail at all. Which do you think they would choose? Which do you think they would choose? And I have a feeling they would choose $1 million. Most of them or several of them. I don't know. I think they would choose $1 million. Really, do they really want to, abolish sex trafficking? That's hard to say. Versus making money off of it. Again, again, the senators, the people that made the documentary. That's probably why they made the documentary to begin with, to help as part of the staff, to help pass this bill, and then the people, the victims, and the victims themselves. I can imagine that they went through horror, but in the end, do they really want to? Are they doing this lawsuit for the money, or are they doing this to really get rid of these people? And if you gave them the choice, which would they choose? And probably a few of them would choose them going to prison forever and ever versus the money. I don't know. So anyhow, we're going to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light, love to all the victims of sex trafficking. And I don't even want to use the word victim, because I don't like that word, but because people can always empower themselves to do so. And then to everyone else in need concern, we will be back again. Radha Ramana by Daniel Call and his from his album Elfin Friends.
Govinda,
And we're back. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona. Spiritual Wings Productions on Blog Talk Radio and free conference call and YouTube, establishing and gaining right relationships in dream life. Tonight we're doing the Intimacy, Tantra, and Relationship Psychically Fulfilled show, talking about the SESTA FOSTA bill, Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act of 2017. Again, this bill serves to assumably protect about 75,000 young females between the ages of 12 to 17 years old, and but it also does it at the potential probable fact that it or action that it overrides or supersedes the Freedom of Speech Act. So again, a small fraction serves to serve, and it says it in the bill. It says that it's not going to cost much money for this bill to be enacted, and it's only going to serve a small amount of people. It says it in the bill itself. And again, the bill, I believe, was enacted mostly for the purpose of getting revenge at Backstage.com or what's the name of that website?
Yeah, Backpage.
Backpage.com, and which has made millions, almost close to approximately $500 million in the last several years. And the problem was that a lot of that sex trafficking was coming from that website. It is believed that they have concrete evidence of that, and so they kept filing lawsuits against Backpage and losing because of this 1934, actually the bill to amend Communications Act of 1934 to clarify that Section 230 of that act does not prohibit the enforcement against providers and users of interactive computer service of federal and state criminal and civil law relating to sex trafficking. So they kept losing because of the Section 230 bill and or section they couldn't get around it. I think they could. I think they could have probably filed tax evasion against this guy, and he would have still been put out of commission, and maybe to some extent or another, and maybe the website wouldn't never have come down. I don't know, but I think they got greedy in the end. I personally think and feel that they got greedy in the end, and start all of a sudden, initially I think it started out wanting to fight sex trafficking because these young women, all three of these young women that were young females that were fighting a lawsuit against these people, it was the parents were pissed, and then all of a sudden the numbers for money started coming through, and their eyes started getting bigger than their heads or their hearts, I think, and then all of a sudden it started to turn to more about the money than the actual protecting people from sex trafficking. The purpose of the bill, and I have this report in front of me right now, the S-1693 would amend federal law to ensure that Section 230 of the Communications Act of 1934 does not prohibit the enforcement of federal and state criminal and civil law relating to sex trafficking against providers and users of interactive computer services. So again, this bill is saying that, and maybe this is the first time in history that legally the legal arena can actually supersede the Freedom of Speech Act with criminal activity. I don't know if that's what it's saying, but that's what it sounds like to me. The background and needs of this act this bill are the Communications Decency Act of 1996, enacted as part of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, was the first bill signed into seeking to regulate obscenity and indecency on the internet. Section 230, as added by the CDA, the section central to the discussion around 1693 states that no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information center or content provider. So they're actually protecting that in a sense, it seems like to me. This prohibition has had the practical effect of preventing ICSs from being held liable for the content that people who use their services create, unless a violation of federal criminal law occurs. An interactive computer service, ICS, is any information service system or access of software provider that provides or enables a computer access by multiple users to a computer server, including specifically a service or system that provides access to the internet, and such systems operate or services offered by libraries or educational systems. This term has been found to include other things, among other things, the following: websites, website hosting services, search engines, and social networking sites. Over the years, much of the CDA has originally enacted has been struck down in court on freedom of speech grounds, but Section 230 and its liability protections remain. Okay, so we're legislative history. I want to get, and again, it states in the legislative history area, it states that the estimated costs are nominal, it's pay as you go, and the amount of people that this bill is actually serving, it says it right here, CBO expect that the bill would apply to a relatively small, I mean, we're talking about micro small of offenders. However, so any increase in cost or law enforcement, court proceedings, or prison or operations would not be significant. Again, it's so small. This is affecting so small of an amount of people that it's not going to be hard at all to deal with the financial aspect of it. So that's how small it is. So again, we're talking about micro. The part that I want to get to, let's see if I can find it. The committee notes that this act would not abrogate or abolish Section 230. This provision would ensure that ICSs cannot be held on account of actions taken in good faith to restrict access to objectionable material. If a plaintiff, on the other hand, if a plaintiff shows that an ICS is knowingly assisting, supporting, or facilitating sex trafficking, then the ICS cannot avoid liability by characterizing those actions as efforts to remove objectionable material.
So that's where, if I'm understanding what you're saying, is that's where now I could make a complaint against Christian dating and say that they are having content that I find objectionable. They are sex trafficking somebody on that site.
If you did that,
and they would be responsible for that.
And then immediately action would be taken, and depending on what authority you follow the complaint to, then they would take immediate action. And it's possible that website could be shut down on the spot. I don't know. There's a lot of variables to consider, and so and again, mostly this language, this bill is aimed at adult advertisement on any site, and probably on any newspaper or magazine or anywhere else where there's adult advertisement. That's what I see is happening. Does that make sense to you?
So it's kind of like what happens in government when they're doing the tax bill, and then they slip in 4 or 5 other provisions, whether it's the port barrel stuff or whatever else that's in that bill. And if nobody reads the bill, then all those things get passed. So this seems to be a way of using the child sex trafficking and sex trafficking as a way to really damage the sex business.
That's
and it's a way to control adult behavior. Consensual adult behavior.
The crucial parts of this amendment, of this bill, are we haven't talked about yet. I'm getting ready to go into that. The crux of this bill that actually does that, I think that's next. That's what we're going to next. Section 4 says ensuring federal liability for publishing information designed to facilitate sex trafficking, otherwise facilitating sex trafficking. This section would amend the federal sex trafficking statute to clarify that participation in a venture means knowingly assisting, supporting, or facilitating a violation of subsection A1 of that statute. Now, this is what gets me, and it says they substitute participation of venture for sex trafficking, which is, I think, is a line of shit. Venture is a venture. I looked up the venture. Venture has nothing to do with sex trafficking. It has to do with risk. It has to do with here. Let me see, where was it? I'll tell you in a second. A venture is, and this is according. And I looked at several definitions, and they all seem to say the same thing: an undertaking involving uncertainty as to the outcome, especially a risky or dangerous one. It's also a business enterprise or speculation in which something is risked in hope of profit, a commercial or other speculation. The money, it's also the money, ship, cargoes, merchandise, or the like, on which risk is taken in a business enterprise or speculation. It's also obsolete, hazard, or risk. Now, venture is associated to business, and I don't need, and I'm not interested in associating venture with sex trafficking. That's a line of shit. It's always been a business terminology, phrase, and I don't know if it's going to change now, but now that it's associated with sex trafficking, hell no. I'm a businessman. I've been a businessman for I don't know how long, but that's a bunch of shit. That's what I said. Anyhow, so they support, they substitute for participation in a venture with sex trafficking, and and I've always said this: if you want to deal with a bully, if you want to really get in their face, well, that's what you do. You get in their face and you call them on their behavior in public. You do it in public, which is what the Me Too people did. And I don't know if they took my advice or not, because I said this for I don't know how long, but they did. They called these bullies on their actions, and they did it in public, and that really completely blew them out of the water. Who did they do this to? Trump. President Trump. They did the same thing to President Trump, and he didn't like it. Again, if you deal with a bully, do it in public and call them on their actions. And if you're gonna call somebody on their actions, don't play grab ass about it. Do it verbatim. If somebody's sex trafficking. Sex trafficking. Now that's one of the things that they didn't really do. They used participation in a venture to, and we're going to go here to Title 18, Crimes and Criminal Procedure, Part 1, Crimes. This is where the crucial part of this bill is right here. This is the part where I really question this bill's authority. I really do. It says. Chapter 77, sex trafficking of children or by force, fraud, or coercion. Number A, whoever knowingly, paragraph 1, in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce or within the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States. In other words, anybody from wherever world you're from, if anybody recruits, entices, harbors, transports, provides, obtains, advertises, and see, there's where they threw in advertise. Does that have anything to do with sex trafficking? I don't know. I really have to question that. Maintains, patronizes, or solicits by any means a person. they solicit, if any of this happens by any means to a person. What does that mean? A solicit for the purpose of sex trafficking? You know, that they make that very vague, again, for the purpose of distraction, for the purpose of maybe reaching out to areas they don't even need to be in, period. Who knows? But they need to be clear for the purpose of sex trafficking.
Well, that's why I haven't heard anything from the ACLU and from these other organizations about challenges to this bill. I don't know if it's going to take time for them to come out or everybody's just going to roll over and accept this, which is crazy. We're starting to live in 1984. Big government, and for all the Republicans that say get government out of our bedrooms or get government out of our guns and get government out of our cities and stop controlling us, over-regulating us, guess what they just did?
Okay, so we only got a few minutes. I want to finish this up. And it says, or paragraph 2, benefit financially or by or any sex or any activity having to do with sex trafficking. If any person benefits financially or by receiving anything of value from participation in a venture, there it is again, which has engaged in an act described in violation of paragraph 1, knowing or accept. Now, this is another part where I think it has to do with boundaries concerning the Freedom of Speech Act, or knowing or accept, where the act constituting the violation of paragraph 1 is advertising in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, coercion described in subsection E2, or any combination of such means will be used to cause the person to engage in commercial sex acts. Now, they use the word commercial sex act to replace prostitution, and so, or that the person that has not attained the age of 18 years and will be caused to engage in commercial sex act shall be punished as provided in subsection B. So again, it's very vague. The definition of sex trafficking, which is they substitute as participation in a venture, is still very vague. It's not clear. And then they're throwing in the mix that part of sex trafficking. Let me see. How do they say this? In reckless disregard of the fact that if you're advertising in reckless disregard of the fact, then you're guilty too. That's what I understand that. But is that a superseding? Is that stepping over Freedom of Speech Act? I don't know. Now that's a good question. If people need to choose between criminal activity and Freedom of Speech Act, I don't know. There's so many variables to consider. I used to say to people, I used to cuss, and I still do. I use profanity. When you're using profanity, that's my Freedom of Speech Act. Period. Whether people like it or not. Anyhow. So and now the place where it becomes where it makes a difference is if I'm directing that language, that profanity, at a person, attacking somebody personally with that language, and that's now we're talking into a legal action. So that's a whole different story. Anyhow, I don't feel like these people really define sex trafficking at all, or I don't think they did a good job of it. Let's put it that way. Because according to the Wikipedia, sex trafficking is human trafficking for the purpose of sexual exploitation, including sexual slavery, and that's where this makes the difference between sex trafficking and prostitution. Prostitution, in general, in the way the public understands it, and in the way that it's more reasonable, it has nothing to do with slavery, unless the people are getting into S&M or something like that, and that's what they want. I don't know. But sex trafficking is slavery. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about years and years and years of slavery that the United States has been involved in, and now they want to use it. They're still working with getting rid of it, but are they doing a good job? That's the question. Sex trafficking has two aspects of supply and demand. The sex exploitation is based on being trafficked and sexually exploited. Now, I want to go to the Homeland Security definition of sex trafficking, again, which is also human trafficking, is a modern-day slavery and involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act. Every year, millions of women and children are trafficked. Traffickers are used force, fraud, or coercion to lure their victims. So again, we're talking about force, fraud, or coercion. Nowhere we're talking about physical activity. Nowhere there does it say anything about advertising. Many myths and conceptions exist. Recognizing key indicators of human trafficking is the first step in identifying victims. And so now, I don't know, does this bill need to include something where that sex traffic human looks like? I don't know. So sex trafficking can be the same as sex slavery, illegal sex, conduct, forced sex, rape act, forced prostitution, or a venture. Prostitution is not necessarily the same as sex trafficking. It can be considered consensual commercial sex, or body rubs, or escorts. Prostitution is not necessarily the same as sex workers, massage, body rubs, sex educators, or intimacy coaching. Prostitution is illegal in the vast majority of the United States, but it's not illegal in 8 counties in the state of Nevada. And if this bill would have been worded anything differently, they could have possibly have been stepping on the toes of Nevada. And I had to really look at the bill for that, and it looked like they were okay with that, but it was very, very close. Many people oppose prostitution not because they're against selling sex, but because of the problems associated with it. So now this bill takes out, who knows how many, 1 or 2 million prostitutes in the United States, and people, and for the right to protect, assumably protect 75,000 young females. Is it worth it? Could they have done this differently? And now with that in mind, if they're going to keep this bill intact, and again, it's still questionable because participation in venture is not necessarily my idea of what sex trafficking is. And so I think that needs to be really questioned and really considered whether this bill is legal or it's in the right direction or not, completely, 100%. So now, again, with this bill, they're disabling several million people throughout the United States. So just so they can protect a few young girls who, a lot of them are runaways. They don't even give a crap, and a lot of and so also because parents are kicking some of these people out because they don't give a crap. Is that reasonable? Is that what the United States is all about? Really? So and again, this idiot from Backpage should have been more cooperative. So and maybe that's the lesson that needs to be learned. Maybe people need to be more cooperative with criminal activity in the sense of reporting it rather than turning their face and not thinking about it. Again, and not that it's the prostitute's job or all these advertisers' job to help police Backpage, but they could have helped a police Backpage, and that could have made a whole lot of difference in terms of the outcome of what's going on right now. Absolutely could have made that difference. So and so now with this bill enabling all these people, maybe they need to consider giving these people their jobs back. Maybe they need to. In Argentina, it says that they made pimping and brothels illegal, but they made prostitution legal. Now they're saying that prostitution is actually it's working. It's working. There are their own business people, and they have a union and all kinds of stuff. And maybe it's not 100% healthy, but I believe that there's a lot of people out there without a job or without potentially a job. Because why? Because of violence, because of STDs, of diseases, and because men who pay for these actions, this service, don't want to be found out. They don't want to come out and just like with Trump, they don't want to come out and let people know that they hired a hooker or a prostitute or a commercial sex act worker. You know, they don't want to be found out, and that's probably and that's their pride, not wanting to legalize prostitution. Is prostitution the best legalizing prostitution? The best action for the United States? It's undetermined. There's a lot of factors to consider, and the other reason that prostitution they don't want to legalize prostitution is because that will mean that they won't be able to control women. The men won't be able to control women like they do right now. Police officers are going out and having sex with prostitutes, and if something that ever happens, if they get in trouble, either they have to have sex with that officer, or they go to jail. So that's a form of intimidation. That's another Me Too. What the hell? That's another Me Too. Every day those Me Too's are happening. Every day. What's the answer to that? All these people being raped. And there's a lot more people being raped probably than there are people getting caught up in sex trafficking as victims. I can almost guarantee you that. Where's the bill for that? Well, maybe it's already out there. And what's being done about that? And maybe, and what was in Sweden? And they're saying that prostitution has been legalized there, and that has led. And again, a lot of people think that sex trafficking will be increased by legalizing prostitution. And in one of those articles, it says no way, not even close. But what has happened in Sweden is that the numbers have come down. The amount of violence and the amount of sex trafficking and all that stuff has actually come down or whatever. So again, and then prostitution. I mean, wake up, people. Prostitution is the oldest job service in the world. The oldest. It has been going on for years and years and years, and people still make money off of it. Why not take advantage of a marketing system that has been working for years? That's stupid. You can make taxes, and they're not collecting taxes on this prostitution. They in 2007 the prostitution the numbers they were making anywhere from 40 to $230 million in a year's time. How much taxes can you get from that? Duh. And how much services can you provide with taxes from that? You tell me. What do you think, Maha Dakini Lorae?
Like I said, it's a big problem. I think they went about it the wrong way. However, we're stuck with the law as it is. And again, from my perspective, my income and my ability to reach clients has been diminished. So I'm at effect of this law as well. And I have to start to be more creative in how I'm going to get clients. So if anyone's out there wants to have coaching work over the phone or by Skype, that I can do that. I do intimacy coaching. If you're in the San Francisco area, I do hands-on healing body work and hands-on sexual and the sexological body worker. So can help you with sexual issues and sexual problems.
Well,
and we're way over time.
No, I know. I was going to change it to 2 hours, but I didn't think we were going to need that for 2 hours. So anyhow, I want to thank you.
I'm
You know,
fading.
Fran, I apologize to her, but I knew I had a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover. And, she was a last minute ad, and so I could only give her a few minutes, and I was happy to do that. You know, I want to thank all of you for stopping by, and you know, and now one other thing I really want to put out there that I think was very auspicious about this whole situation is that, number one, and I think I've already told you, Jupiter has been in Scorpio for several months now, which means there's a lot of healing that's taking place concerning sex and passion and over-dominatingness and all this other stuff. This is all part of that energy. Jupiter healing America, which is needing it. It's been needing it for a very long time. Part of the Me Too stuff, that's all part of that energy. And then the other thing that I thought was very interesting in the movie, and I recommend that you go watch that movie, I Am Jane Doe. It's available on Netflix right now. And but I thought it was very interesting that the mother of the main Jane Doe that filed the lawsuit, she said she prayed for help, for whatever. You know, when you add spirit to anything, even Facebook, believe it or not, was given spirit so that it can be born. When you add spirit to any situation or anything, spirit of the light, of course, then it will be born. It'll happen. It'll work through. That woman, and that's why I believe that this bill isn't a loss. I don't think it is. I think they're in the right direction, but I think they need to make changes that are much more respectful, much more useful than attacking the whole world rather than just attacking just a small group of people who are sex trafficking. So, and this woman, this girl's mother prays, and she gets her prayers answered. And what's funny is that several months ago, you know, I was hearing this stuff about. I didn't even know about any of this until a few days ago. But several months ago, I did. I put out a program, a prayer, whatever you want to call it, and to put a stop to these sex traffickers. So yeah, I'm guilty too of helping to enable and enact this bill on the spiritual level, unbeknownst to me. But and is it the best solution out there available? I don't think so. I think there's still better solutions, but you know, it's a start. And if this idiot from a back page would have just been much more respectful and professional, then we wouldn't be talking about this right now. I'm sure. For sure. You know, have a God Goddess week. Be the love that you are. Always have been.
Mm-hmm.
Aloha.